know that physiotherapists help with the pelvic floor, but they also use a variety of tools, and a few of them may look confusing or intimidating. So let's clear that up today. So what are these various pelvic floor muscle gizmos that you've brought in today for me?
Okay, so it's not a bag of tricks. I'm actually going to start with a bowl of tricks today.
A bowl of tricks?
Yeah.
A pelvic bowl?
Yeah, so the best rehabilitation for the pelvic floor is to actually learn how to do the pelvic floor muscle contraction correctly. Once you've done that, it's important to get then to challenge the pelvic floor muscles, because you want them to be strong. They're just the same as you want your biceps to be strong for lifting or your quads to be strong for squatting. They're no different. They're skeletal muscles. So we want to challenge them, and sometimes it's good to challenge them with some gizmos. I call them gizmos. It's just an all-encompassing term for different devices that you can use to help strengthen the pelvic floor. Now, I don't want you to get freaked out, but here we go. Let's start with something that doesn't look too scary, and these are vaginal weights. So I don't know if you can see these weights. These ones are samples. They haven't been actually used, but I'll get you to hold them, Brie, and you can feel them and touch them. And I have these in the clinics.
Like a rattle toy.
Yeah, so I think the rattle's in there for a little bit of extra stimulation. However, the rattle is the weight inside, okay? And these two actually come with just a weight as is. Mm-hmm. This one actually can come in a variety of different weights, from light to heavier.
Okay.
So obviously, while we're challenging the pelvic floor, we might want to increase the weight that we're lifting. So this little device actually sits inside the vagina above the pelvic floor muscles. The pelvic floor muscles would sit below and the weight would sit on top. And as you do your pelvic floor muscle contraction, you would lift the weight inside. Okay. So the weights are one.
It's like vaginal weightlifting.
It literally is vaginal weightlifting, okay? That's what we're on about.
So it's only really for people that have major pelvic floor issues?
No, not at all,
okay.
Not at all. So in my world, I like to get people onto pelvic floor muscle training before it becomes a major issue.
Yeah.
Okay, and some people get their heads around this sort of device very easily, and other people aren't so into it. Yeah, and that's fine. Everyone's an individual. But if someone thinks that this might suit them, then they're the person that might want to try it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to move on.
Yep.
So that's vaginal weights. Oh, there's one other style of weight here which has been around for a long time, and you might have seen it, I'm not sure. So that's another weight where you can actually build on the weights inside. Okay, and it really looks literally like a tampon. My worry with these ones is they're a bit slippery.
Okay.
And they might slip out if the muscles aren't strong enough.
Okay.
And that's where it's really good to use these sorts of devices under the guide of a physiotherapist.
Definitely.
Someone who knows what they're talking about and who can then help you to progress the exercise the same as you would progress exercise for a calf muscle or a quadriceps muscle of the leg. Another little device here is called a pelvic floor educator, and this part of the device actually sits inside the vagina, and as you contract the vaginal muscles and lift and squeeze them internally, the little lever arm goes down. So you can actually see between your legs what's going on.
It's like a game for yourself.
And you can actually see if you can hold the muscles on, which is actually quite challenging for some people, but it's an important part of pelvic floor muscle rehabilitation.
Especially when mothers have had children and things like that.
For sure. So this is a form of biofeedback, because you're actually seeing what's happening and whether your muscles are actually doing what you think they're doing.
Okay.
So
it's important for it to be able to lift like that.
So that's right. And the weights can be used in a variety of positions, whereas really these ones are best used lying on the bed. Okay. So different devices suit different people.
Like a visual of your husband walking and going, "What are you doing?"
Well,
I'm weightlifting.
That's literally what you're doing. However, with the weights, you might be hanging out the load of washing, or cleaning your teeth, or something like that, depending on how strong you are.
No one knows that you're doing that.
And you're wearing knickers as well.
Yeah.
So
if it falls out, you'll be fine.
That's right. It's not going to roll around the floor. However, you don't want it to fall out, and that's where careful progression of strengthening can be helpful.
Sure that strength's coming in.
That's right. Another simple device for seeing if your pelvic floor muscles are working is a mirror. So you have a hand mirror and you actually have a look. Now this can be really confronting for some people.
Yes.
However, others are really into their anatomy and they want to know what's going on.
Yep.
And they want to see the muscles working. So a mirror is suitable for some people.
Most of us, it was probably when we were having babies that was the last time we had a mirror down
There
there.
you go. There you go. Well, it can be good to have a look to see what you're doing right.
Okay.
And
but is that using one of these things, or?
It could be used in combination, but a lot of people just have a mirror in the home. They don't actually have to go to any expense.
Yep.
And so far what I've been showing you is, less expensive than a pair of sandals.
Okay.
So it's really affordable devices. And then we have other devices. There's a whole range, but we have other devices. There's some I wanted to show you today. This one is a little device which is actually puts in a little electrical stimulation into the muscles and actually turns the muscles on.
Okay.
This can be useful for someone who is really struggling to know how to turn their muscles on. And with the right placement of the electrode internally, they can feel the muscle contraction.
So is it kind of like one of those TENS machines?
Yeah, it is. It's actually quite similar to a TENS, and it's an internal electrode, still on the surface of the vagina internally. However, a TENS machine tends to be targeting pain fibres, whereas this one's targeting motor fibres. So we want to turn the muscles on.
And so you're aware they're there so you can actually use them.
Yeah, that's right. And then you would attempt to bring the muscles on with the machine.
Okay.
So that's electrical stimulation, if ever you're reading anything about that. And that's certainly something that should be used with under the guidance of a physiotherapist. And then this one is a feedback machine. Actually, I think I might have brought another version of the Stims machine, but there's a feedback machine that looks like this. Sorry, I think I've brought the purple one, not the green one. And what this does is, similarly to the little stimulation machine, is you have an electrode inserted into the vagina and you contract the muscles and you get a little readout about your contraction. So it's another form of biofeedback.
So it's telling you how strong your muscles are.
And whether you're holding the muscles on correctly for the 3, 5, 10 seconds that you're being prescribed. Yeah.
So this one would be more use like at the physio when you're there. You wouldn't buy one of those machines.
However, the beauty of these is they're very portable. And the idea would be, like any exercise program, is that you would do it regularly.
Okay.
And you can take these home.
Okay.
And for example, some clinics might encourage you to buy a machine. We're fortunate at our clinic that we can hire them out for about $10 a week.
That's great.
Yeah, so you wouldn't necessarily try these on your own.
No.
And surprisingly, quite a few people have already purchased vaginal weights when they come in, but they're not really sure how to use them.
Yeah.
And the pamphlets aren't necessarily as explanatory as they could be, particularly for people who they're starting with very weak pelvic floor muscles.
And it's a real issue. So, I know this is probably a little bit uncomfortable for some women watching today that, we're talking about, they're not toys, so they're actual things that women need to improve their pelvic health. So why should women buy these and use them straight off the shelf?
So if you buy them from an internet website or from a pharmacy or sometimes from an adult shop, then you can certainly, if you're up to experimenting a little bit yourself, then you're not likely to do any harm with anything that's not connected to the electricity.
Yeah.
However, you might not be able to use them to your best. You might find that they're inefficient, and you might not know how to then progress yourself moving forward so that you can get stronger muscles. Just back to the start though, it's really important to realise these are kind of the extras things, the icing on the cake. The first port of call is to make sure your pelvic floor muscles are contracting properly. And it's really only this little Stims machine that you would use very early on if you had weak muscles, because it's the one that can help you to get an idea of how to contract your muscles. Beautiful. So, how long should these be used for? So, the Studies at the moment are showing that really we need to be doing exercises for up to 12 weeks to get the benefit. Initially we would perhaps hire these for 4 to 6 weeks, and then of course the reassessment's really important. And reassessment usually involves a vaginal examination. So it's an intimate examination. And then the patient and the physio knows what's going on and how things are getting stronger.
And what about like ceasing use? Like obviously you don't want to be doing this forever.
Well, no, some people quite like to keep these devices and machines handy. Some people like the machines so much they buy their own. Because they don't want to keep hiring them, and we have a limit to how long we can rent them out for. So there's no real end point, but what we're talking about with the strengthening program is progressive training over a 12-week program. And really the assessment before and then the reassessment after is what we're looking at. And it's actually not just an assessment of what we're feeling, it's an assessment of whether the symptoms, whatever they may be, are improving.
Because it is a taboo subject, pelvic floor. A lot of women are embarrassed by it and they just ignore it and they think it's just part of life after children or older age. So as you can see, like there's a lot of ways to fix it. So, you know, they can present themselves in a variety of ways, including pain, incontinence. So if you have any concerns about your pelvic floor health, don't hesitate to get in touch with the team at Cairns Pelvic Health Clinic today, because there's numerous ways that they can help you.